Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. Welcome to the week. It is Monday, Moon Day. I always think that's why we have a hard time with Mondays, because intrinsically, Monday is the day we start the new week. We get things done, we go back to work, but Moon Day, Monday is for the moon. And so I think that's like a contrast, which really to me has been resonating because this last week was so contrasting as well. We had a full moon in Capricorn, and this is kicking off something kind of major, you guys. And so I wanted to just reflect a little bit about that full moon in Capricorn. The thing about full moons is that the moon opposes the sun. So when you look at a chart, if the moon and sun are opposing each other, it means that child was born on a full moon. And the reason why full moons get that rap of everybody goes crazy, things are insane on a full moon, is because of that contrast. It's because of that juxtaposition in the sky where it's in opposition to what we're working towards. So it can kind of get in the way of the program. Cancer wants us to feel. Cancer wants us to explore our emotions, and Capricorn wants us to work. Capricorn wants us to not think about our emotions and to work through shit. What I will say is that for every opposition, there is a meeting place in the middle. For every fight, there is a place we can come to where we can reach middle ground. There's your story, their story, and then the truth is in the middle. And so full moons are really an opportunity to find the middle. And I was just blown off my axis this weekend, this full moon. I don't know if you felt that way. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe you felt empowered. Sometimes with oppositional energy, both can be true. And I think what I really learned and what really stuck in my soul this week is that you can go through incredibly hard emotions, hard things, hard moments, hard years, hard lives. And this Capricorn moon was reminding us that we still have backbone. Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. Saturn rules the bones, and our lessons are what strengthens us, conditions us. Strength trains us to be the powerful creatures that we can be. And if we only knew our emotions and our heart and the softness of the water that resides inside of us, then we would never truly understand the hardness that also exists and stands us up straight amidst backbreaking winds and storms and changes. And so in my heart, I'm grateful for that Capricorn moon because it's what helped me sit up a little straighter in times of my own great emotional storms. So with that being said, this month is kind of cataclysmic in this way that for, I think, around 18 months, don't quote me on that, but over a year, something happened where we had two new moons at one time. So it set into motion something that has been maybe a little bit unnatural. So usually we start with a new moon. Our energy, the month starts with a new moon so that we start building up to the full moon. But what happened a little while ago is that there was two new moons in 1 month, and it turned the energy on its axis. So now we start with full moons and then head down to the new moon. It's been a ride. It's been over a year of really having to negotiate what's too full and what needs to leak out or what's leaking out of us. It's been over a year of having to understand that starting with something full. I think of this game we played for field day this year at the school I teach at, where you start with a full bucket of water, but it has holes in it, and you pass it behind you and all the kids pass the bucket, but it's spilling out the whole time. And what's left at the end of the race is you're trying to fill the bucket and back as quickly as you can. But here you are, the water's pouring out. So this to me is such an interesting visual vibe for what's been going on, yeah? Because instead of building up to a full moon, we've been starting our energy with a full moon for a while now. And so it's like, what do you do when you start with big full energy. I think that for some that's been confusing, for some it's been overwhelming, for others maybe it's felt really powerful, I don't know. But this is the month that stops because we have 2 full moons in Capricorn this month, 2. And thus is going to start us back on track with starting with a new moon and building up to a full moon. So to me, this month, on a broader scope, not just this week, but this whole month of Cancer season that we're in, heading into July, into like the 20th of July, there is this opportunity to reflect on what has been too full, what has been leaking out, what inside of you has been having to fortify its own walls to maybe block some of the leaks. It's a big month for really re-strategizing something, for recalculating something, for being a little bit ready to let the universe surprise you, because the energy is going to feel different. This week we have Venus and Saturn stuff coming around the bend, which is relationship lessons. What have you been learning in your relationships, friendships, partnerships, loveships, kidships? What is here? What have you learned this year about yourself as a partner, as a communicator, as a facilitator? What were the harder lessons? I think that we save all of our reflection time for the new year or January, but I always wonder why. Because while indeed winter is a reflective time, I do believe that these summer months, starting with Cancer and going into Leo, it is a time to feel it all the way through and then get some recognition, because Leo loves to be recognized. Like, recognize how far you've come. So maybe you would call it a halfway mark, right? Where it's time to look back on the energy that you've put out this year, the energy that you've put out so far, and where you're at and what needs a tweak, a readjustment, an alignment. And Venus and Saturn talking to each other this way is a really good opportunity to do that, because Saturn is our life lessons and Venus is our lover. How can you love better, different? Or how are you right on track, right where you're supposed to be? And then Thursday, Saturn is going to trine Mercury. And I love this because Saturn is in Pisces and Mercury is in Cancer. And so it's 2 water signs helping. And sometimes when I think about water and how it can be met with incredible obstacles, and it can become, the path that leads to the bigger, wider ocean, the river that keeps flowing through and around the rocks and the barriers, and takes fishies home and travels to this great, big, vast, wide open. And I think of that for us this week, that maybe some pathways, some mental pathways are opening where it's like, finally, we have the fortitude, the emotional capacity to say, oh, that's why this happened. Oh, that's why this rejection happened. That's why this yes was this. That's why this no was that. And we can finally, maybe feel cleaner inside our own water system. And I love that for us, because sometimes Saturn can feel like harder lessons, right? Because Saturn builds our bones. Saturn holds us to a standard. But when it is trining, which is a positive aspect, our thoughts, which are also in watery circumstances in Cancer, it's how can we meet our emotions? How can our emotions meet our lessons? How can the way that we are feeling manifest what we want to become? And I think there are going to be some clues and some clarity and some movement, maybe some past hurts can get put to rest. Maybe something that has been keeping you up at night, maybe something that really hurt can get cleared out a little bit, or at least lessen, at least flow. Because that's what I think of when I think of 2 water signs converging in the night, is flow. How can we flow through? Because surely we're sick of the blocks. Surely none of us want to be stuck, with a beaver dam right in the middle of our flow, So we're breaking down the dam walls and seeing something fresh, something new, some way of seeing it where maybe it doesn't ail us quite so much. And then Friday, I love for us because, it'll be a reflective, maybe not intense, but maybe a hard reflection week. But then Friday, Venus and Mars meet up, and I love this so much because it's like a good aspect. It's like masculin, féminin, and they meet each other. The male and the female energy are vibing, they're clubbing, they're partying. So like giving into that extra bodacious energy of I can be both masculine and feminine. I can be both in my power and soft and vulnerable. I can be both, yin and yang, and just have a freaking good time with it and just relax. To me, sometimes contrast and what we were talking about, the opposition energy can feel so strong that we forget to have fun with the fact that we are all masculine and feminine beings all at the same time. It's not one or the other, but rather how we are converging at the same time. So Friday, I see a lot of connectivity. I see creation projects. I see excitement. I see the ability to let down the guard of how we do life together, how we compromise, how we have to see the other side so much. And this weekend, it's really an opportunity to just have fun and not be so attached to right or wrong or yes or no, to find the maybe, to find the grays that come with the black and whites, to just be able to live in that center of what I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast. Between right and wrong, there is always a middle. And then Saturday, Saturn goes retrograde. Saturn is going to go retrograde for 5 months, so it's a long transit. But the day that this happens, which is Saturday, it's a big astrological event. So to me, whenever something happens the day of that's going to be a longer astrological vibe, I like to think of that day as being like the clue finder, the hint giver of what is on the horizon for this lesson. So Saturday, keep your eyes open and see. Saturn's going retrograde, so this is reflective. When we go retrograde, it's slowing down, and Saturn is our lesson keeper. It's in Pisces, so it has a lot to do with our dreams, our dream state, our addictions, our softer side, the other world, the realms with which we don't always have control or understand. So it's a reflective time to think about what we're believing in and how we're shaping our reality by our actions and our words and our energy. So yeah, we've party-hardied on Friday with that Mars Venus, and then Saturn's asking us what the greater whys are, no big deal. Just settle into that. But also, Mercury is going to sextile Uranus at this same time. So while Saturn can be kind of stiff, I like this other transit of Mercury and Uranus because Uranus is the planet of really big change and Mercury is our thoughts. So I see Saturn going retrograde as reflective, but in this really positive way where we're not victimizing ourselves, and we're certainly not crying over spilt milk. What we're doing is we're reflecting to do better next time. We are changing our thoughts to change our lives, which I've spoken to a lot because it's been a very mercurial time with the sun having just been in Gemini. It's been a big ask to think about our thoughts. Think about your thoughts, which is kind of ironic. But really, what we create in our minds, often we play out in reality. And so Uranus is giving us a big opportunity and ask to shift our core fundamental ways of thinking. Now, listen, anytime I'm talking about the astrological energy, you always have a choice to engage with it or to not engage with it. It's going to engage with you one way or another. But the point of a weekly reading is so that there's an awareness. So when something happens this week, or when something touches your heart, you can understand that the universe is moving you. The universe is tapping you. If we could always remember that the universe has their hand placed on our chest too, that we are really truly supported by our thoughts, by our energy, by what we're producing within our own magnetic field. That it's constant, that it's always, and that the planets are shifting, shaping us to help us grow, learn, and become. Like, growing up. It's so funny because as an adult, we don't have as many rite of passages as young people do, but the planets make sure that we do. The planets make sure that we still have to cross through certain thresholds for our growth. When you get to an older age, it's move it or lose it. Move your thoughts or lose it. I love this astrologer. Her name's Caroline Casey. She says, think about a lot, educate yourself and put out the quandary, but believe nothing. That when you put a belief system in place is when you put that dam in the water. It's when you stop the flow. When something is true, absolutely, then it doesn't leave very much room for magic, does it? And the truth is that to believe anything, absolutely, is to be giving over a part of yourself to something that isn't yours, to something that isn't divinely, shifting inside of you. I know we all have fundamentals and we all have belief systems, and God bless us for that. But also, and science only knows what it knows until it learns something different. And what if we went into our lives this way? What if we only, and I think about this in terms of like our earliest loves, our earliest relationships, our earliest friendships, when we were our most vulnerable, our most trusting, our most believing. We only knew what we knew at the time that we knew it. And we can only know what we know when we know it. And so the notion is that folly is a sure thing. We are going to make mistakes because we can only learn so much at one time. And the ability to suspend belief, to suspend a belief system, is the ability to grow. It's the ability to allow for something unprecedented to happen in your life. And don't we all want that? I've had to learn a lot of lessons through being in relationship with people. And a lot of them have really hurt, and a lot of them have felt very painful. And a lot of them I've victimized myself through. And the truth is that every relationship I've been in, I didn't know until I knew. And then I knew better. And then I hopefully am doing better and acting better and feeling into my own self better through the pain and the discourse, because really I only know what I know when I know it. And you too, kid. The world is going to surprise you. And if you live your life thinking that it won't, then boy, will calamity ensue. And the truth is, it's about that Capricornian energy this month of truly finding our backbone, of truly finding our center, so that when the storms rage, we can still have a center, and don't have that center be founded on a belief system, because then it becomes rigid. Then it becomes something that will break, not bend. We want to bend, you see, in this life. We don't want to live in such a reality as is our own creation, that we can't feel or experience what other people are feeling and experiencing, because that's what creates war. When we let go the desire to understand the other, when we let go the notion of meeting in that middle, and that we don't choose to meet each other there, then we choose calamity, truly. We choose a life that becomes quite vigilante. We choose a life that asks us, dares us. We're daring the universe when we think we know, when we think we've reached the peak of our happiness or the peak of our knowing. And we just think, I can't tell you how many women's circle I've sit in. And when it comes to some person who's like, nope, I think I got this. I'm doing so great. Like, I think I have it figured out. Well, that's the person that is next for the big life transition. That's the person whose person is cheating on her and she don't know about it. It's like when you think you know something absolutely, that's when life will change you. That's when Saturn will come in and be like, bitch, please. Like, expect paradox always. That's the lesson here. But what I really love about this month is that we're so supported by a double full moon in Capricorn, telling us that no matter how deep the river goes in Cancer this month, no matter how emotional it becomes or no matter how volatile we feel it all is. Capricorn says there's work to do here. Capricorn says there's good work to understand when we're willing to do the work instead of, building dams that block our flow. It's time to break them all down. I think of the word this month, this week, and ongoing as devotion. Being completely devoted to process, being devoted to what it is that we are breaking through. What feels good to create? What are we creating? Because truly our thoughts create our world, and our life circumstances are a smorgasbord of all of our past experiences. But if you could just let go of the weight of the past for a little while and be open to the expansion of the future, and meet in the middle and meet there with the experience that you have and the beginner's mind of not knowing what's next, that's when magic can happen, truly. And the card I pulled for us is Grace and Generosity. I love this card because, let me tell you, we're all fighting our own battles. The thing I've learned the most over the last few days is you just don't know what someone else is going through, is you just don't know what the road has been laid out for someone else. You don't even know what road's been laid out for you. So having grace and having generosity and being devoted to this world, to this iteration, to this life that we're in is the medicine. To give compassion, to righteously understand each other on a bridge that doesn't make any sense. We're all on bridges, separate ones, and we can wave at each other. We can say things, we can communicate, but only if we're willing to, for 5 minutes only, see it from another perspective, see it from the other side. That's how we cross bridges. We don't burn them down, we cross them. And once we're through that bridge, and once we're over that hill, once we've climbed that mountain, there are lessons you could never anticipate. And it's relaxing into understanding that we don't know what we don't know. And do your best anyway. And find your heart and your spirit and your strength and your posture. And really give with grace and generosity, because we're all at different points in the road, the mountain, the bridge, the hill. We're all in different places, and finding that middle ground is really what I wanted to speak to this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like a reading on this energy and what it's been like and what is to come, please do reach out to me. I'm so happy to point you in an easier, it's so much easier when we can understand what the vibe of the lesson is, because that's what it is. Where all these planets and all this energy is hitting in your personal chart, that's called your personal vibes. These are the work that is working with you or against you if you don't know. So be chill, reach out, and thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week.